Yes.
Okay, we're all ready to go. So welcome everyone to the first episode of Discover My City, live from Galway. It's 4 p.m. here on a rainy day. It's not always rainy, and some of the waymakers will give you more details of our special city shortly. But thanks to the other wavemakers. Well, I can spot some of them for joining in today, and thanks to Mayumi in Romania and to all the volunteers from the other capitals of culture who are here. We're delighted to invite you to a virtual journey of Galway with our wavemakers, and hopefully this is the first of many ones. We have 7 wavemakers today who have spent the last 2 weeks preparing really wonderful presentations, and we put them all together, and we hope that it will give you a flavor of Galway, the city of the tribes. Okay, so no further ado, unless Mayumi you want to add anything else, I would like to share the screen, or would you like to say anything else?
No, we can continue. So thank you for everybody joining, and let's go to Galway tour today.
Okay.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Okay, here we go. So the wavemakers who are going to introduce you to Galway today are Mary, Anne-Celine, Sita, Hugh, Artur, Innocent, and Hannah. And I would like to introduce everybody to Mary.
Yay.
Mary.
You can hear me, okay?
Go for it.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So my remit was to do a brief history of Galway. It's going to be very brief. Galway has a fairly long history, so I'll be racing through this. So if we move in first and look at a map of Galway, we see located on the coast. There's the very short river Corrib, which flows from this large body of water, Loch Corrib. Over here on the west is Connemara, which is a mountainous region with very poor land. By contrast, the east and the north of the city, of the county, is quite fertile. So it's no wonder, because of its sheltered location and access to fresh water, it's no wonder that people settled here, and that there was a fishing settlement here until the de Burgo family, one of the Normans who had, the Anglo-Normans had invaded Ireland in the 12th century, and the de Burgo family came here and established a fort, and they had really taken control of all the lands around there. So Galway developed from that fort. Walls were being erected from the end of the 13th century on. One thing we note is that Galway is unique in that it's the only coastal town of any significance that was developed by the Normans. The others, Dublin, Waterford, Cork, Limerick, etc., were Viking towns and developed earlier. So here's a map of the city and as it developed, and these walls are up along here and down around here, and down here is the quay where boats came in the mid 14th, 15th centuries, okay? Spanish Arch is here. So these were the entrances to the town then. We're at Abbey Gate, up here, Williams Gate, and down here at the bottom, we have Main Guard, okay? So if somebody got this place, at this map today, they'd still be able to find their way around Galway Old Town, because the streetscape hasn't really changed. We have Abbey Street running along here, Williams Gate, Main Guard Street, and then outside the walls is an area, it's Eyre Square now, but outside that area was outside the walls at this time. So more families came. They were attracted by the port. There were Norman families as well. and they established very lucrative trade relations with ports, mainly in Europe, but beyond Europe as well, mainly France, Spain and Portugal. So they exported hides and wool and imported luxury goods like the wine and brandy and sugar and such like. Okay, so Celine's going to, Anne-Celine, which is following this presentation, is going to talk a little bit more about these. But these families, they got very rich, and if we move on, we'd see some of their names here. The next slide is not coming up. I'd like to talk about them anyway, Elena. If you can move on the slide, we can see, yeah, there's the names of these. There were 14 families in all, and these are pictures of their crests. And they, as I said, got very rich. They also, with their riches came political influence. They were granted governance of the city, which was transferred from the de Burgo to them in the 15th century. So they left legacy of buildings. Most of them have now disappeared. But if we move on to the next slide, we'll see this one, Lynch's Castle, which again, Anne-Celine will talk a little bit more about this in her virtual tour of Galway. But Lynch's Castle, which still functions today, it's a bank now, but you can see it was quite a substantial building. Gargoyles up here at the top, lots of engravings, and around the town you can see samples of these type of engravings. This is a marriage stone which would have been created to celebrate marriage between the families. And the families, they were really set apart from the hinterland where people spoke Irish. These 14 tribes, as they became to be known, and this is where we get the city of the tribes named for Galway. They spoke English, they followed English fashion and customs, and they were apart really from the region in general. So I think if we move to the next slide, we'll see another building which is still functioning today. It's a church. It's St. Nicholas's Church, originally a Catholic church, but after the Reformation it became an Anglican church. And again, Celine will tell you a little bit more about that. So very rich, important place in the 15th and 16th century. But I think if we go on to the next slide, we'll see there's a bit of a decline it comes about. Now, there was reasons for that, one of them being that the families were Catholic, and throughout the 17th century there were wars for the succession to the throne in England between a Catholic contender and a Protestant. Protestant won. This resulted, I suppose, in the Catholic families here losing influence in the English court. And another factor was that the trade expanded. There was more and more goods being moved about, which required bigger ships. There was a shallow harbour here in Galway. Ships couldn't access it. So other ports like Limerick and Sligo were favoured over Galway. So if we move on again, there's another image from the 19th century where travellers generally, or travel writers would have come to the town, and they almost all refer to really this feeling of faded grandeur about Galway, and that it was now a place in the doldrums, that a lot of the inhabitants looked very impoverished. And Maria Edgeworth, a novelist, a well-known novelist, reported that it was the dirtiest town she had seen, the most desolate and idle looking. And in 1840, Galway lost its city status, and it didn't really regain that again until 1937. Now, it wasn't all doom and gloom. The walls were demolished, the town expanded beyond the walls, and there was a good bit of development, I suppose, of infrastructure in the mid-18th century. The railway came to Galway, university opened, canals were built, and the new docks were constructed. So there was that going on. And if we go on again, we can see that there's, it was a centre really for the people in the countryside coming in, trading their goods. And we have some photographs here of markets. This is St. Nicholas's Market, where food and grain was sold, and that still functions today in the same spot. And wave makers have been busy helping out running that since we had the pandemic and the requirements of social distancing, etc. So there would have been other markets then. Down at the Spanish Arch, the fish were sold, livestock was sold up in Eyre Square, potatoes sold in Wood Quay, and over here, well, we've just gone past it, there's a photograph of the ladies selling socks at the sock market. And this is another postcard, very early postcard of the Spanish Arch area, where there was a busy market scene going on as well. So it really wasn't until the early 20th century that there was a bit of a turnaround in the fortunes of Galway. And in some ways, it was the remoteness of the place that kind of worked in its favour. The people in the 19th century, even travellers came to see the Claddagh. So if we go on, we see a photograph here of the people who lived in the Claddagh. Now the Claddagh was an Irish-speaking fishing village which lies directly across the river from the city, and it had its own traditions, its own culture around fishing, in particular rules and regulations into how that should be done. And as we can see here in this early colour photograph, it also had very distinctive clothing. There was something like 250 thatched houses. So it was quite unique, and obviously attracted photographers, artists and writers and everything else. Anybody else who might be interested in such matters. And also with the beginning of the 20th century, there was a revival of the Irish language. And because Irish was still the daily language of people living in Connemara, Irish language enthusiasts were attracted to that area. And also then with tourism developing, the Salt Hill had its own attractions. I think we have a photograph if we move on. We see a picture of a lone tourist in Salt Hill in the early 20th century. The prom is a good deal busier than that nowadays. But anyway, there was a gradual upturn. The population in Galway had fallen to just a little over 13,000 in the census in 1911, which was extremely low, obviously a very small place at that time. But there was a gradual development and growth in population throughout the 20th century. It wasn't really until the 60s, much like the rest of Ireland, that there was really any serious economic boom. And it was really, I suppose, in the 80s with multinational development, we'd take a great leap now to see how it looks today, that we have the city that we have today. Multinational investment in tech industries and now in medical industries has led to a big boom. There's over 80,000 live in Galway city now. The expansion of the university, the development of the art scene, I suppose, in the 80s and 90s has all led to kind of what we have now, a modern, vibrant, multicultural city that we all love living in. So. So that's just some of the sources that were used for the presentation.
Thanks a million, Mary. Fantastic presentation on the history. And I would now like to introduce Anne-Celine, who is going to give us a virtual tour of Galway City.
Thank you, Elena, for introducing me to everyone. Thank you, Mary, for your wonderful history of Galway. You very obviously, I can see that you know your stuff very well with your husband. So let's start with the main landmark of the city. So as Mary mentioned, one of the main landmarks of the city is Spanish Arch. So why Spanish Arch? Because it's probably one of the oldest buildings still in Galway. And it was actually constructed in 1584, and it was actually an extension of the medieval town wall. And from an angle that you maybe could see, you can see at the back there is the Art Villa restaurant, and we have the museum, which is just actually behind. And it was actually protecting the old quays. The building survived, you know, something which happened in 1755, which was actually an earthquake in Lisbon, and it triggered a tsunami. Can you believe this? There was still these kind of things happening. And Spanish Arch as well, because in 1588, the Spanish Armada, as maybe you know, crashed along Ireland after the Battle of Gravelines, and they tried to escape, and they had to contour actually Ireland, and they crashed, and actually some of the Spanish from the Spanish Armada came to Galway, and they were executed as well, which is not very good, but that's part of the history as well. And it was in 1588. Okay, so we can continue next. So here is the other very, very old building of Galway, again from the same kind of time, you know, 15th, 16th centuries. And it's coming from one of the 14th tribes of Galway. Tribes was actually a title given by Cromwell, otherwise we would have said more the 14th merchants, you know, rich merchants of Galway. So Lynch's Castle Tower, which is now a bank. So you can see it was very, you know, nice little building, you know, like nice little house. And most actually of the mayor of Galway coming from the Lynch family. The Lynch family as well, you have in the transept of St. Nicholas Church, that's where they were buried as well. And you can visit that when you go to St. Nicholas Church of the Mira, which is another landmark that I will talk about later on. So from the front of the castle, you can see there is the Lynch family coat of arms, as well of Henry and as well the Fitzgerald of Kildare. Fitzgerald was one of the oldest family as well of Ireland. So it's a beautiful kind of Gothic building, which still have the Bank of Ireland now owns, and you can visit that, and you can go inside, and you have an exhibition as well of the Spanish Armada, as well as the map of the Galway in 15th or 16th century that Mary showed us in the previous presentation. So here we are. I'm going to talk about the other church of the main church of Galway, which is Collegiate Church of St. Nicholas of Mira. So that church was built in 1320. It's one of the oldest church still in you know, visited that you can pray in Ireland. It's St. Nicholas is known to be the patron of St. Nicholas, obviously Santa Claus, the children, and as well the patron of the mariners. Okay, so we said we have actually proof of that. Christopher Columbus prayed here as well in Galway in 1477 before he continued his journey to Iceland. And Cromwell as well came as well, and he unfortunately he destroyed the building, and he used it as a stables for his horses. So it was not really, really nice for him, but we know he was not such a nice man, as we all know in Ireland. So something quite interesting is the clock that everybody can see in town, and the clock has actually 3 dials facing south, east, and west, and not north, because he was told that they didn't want the nuns from the Poor Clares convents to see the time of the day, because they were kind of a retreat and they had to retreat in silence. But the more accurate explanation is that the clock could only have 3 dials and not 4 dials. So that's the reason there was no dial on the north side. Okay. So the main cathedral, because Galway has a cathedral, like some of the town in Ireland, and the cathedral is actually a new cathedral. It's actually only 50 years old. You know, it's quite recent. It was built in 1965. The architecture drew actually many influences. Inside, you have beautiful Connemara marbles. The style would be more like a Renaissance style. You have as well some beautiful mosaic and rose windows. A portrait as well of John Fitzgerald Kennedy can be seen when you go inside. On the right side, you have a little room, and you can see that mosaic of the portrait of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And the dome will be seen from all over Galway, and it's around, you know, 145 foot. At the same location used to be a jail, and they used part of that jail to build actually the limestone cathedral. So I'm going to talk now about one of the suburbs of Galway that Mary as well mentioned in a previous presentation, which is the Claddagh suburb, and as well one of the main objects, jewelry, which is the Claddagh ring. So the Claddagh subject was date from actually the 5th century of Ireland. It's one of the oldest fishing village. And as Mary said, the fishermen and their wives were living there in beautiful thatched cottages that actually there is no more thatched cottage except one was being created afterwards that you can go and see as a museum. And the women were actually keeping the money, the budget, and while their husband were fishing, and they could sell the fish in near Spanish Arch on the fish market was located there. So I could talk as well about the Claddagh ring. The Claddagh ring is a jewelry was been created and designed by Richard Joyce, which was one of the family of the tribes, the Joyce family, merchant from Galway, and he was kidnapped, we've been told, by Algerian pirates when he was going to along in the Mediterranean Sea, and he was sold into slavery to a Moorish goldsmith, and he was trained as a jewelry maker, and he came back with a beautiful ring, which with the symbol of love, which is heart, the end symbol of friendship, and the crown symbol of loyalty. And this ring that I actually one there is sold all over the world, and it's one of the beautiful souvenirs that you can have from Galway if you want to for yourself or get engaged or get married. Now I'm going to talk about Eyre Square. So Eyre Square is the main square of Galway. It's Eyre Square because it's actually at the name of one of the city mayor of Galway, which name was Mayor Edward Eyre. But more recently, the square has been given a different name, and it's known as well as John F. Fitzgerald Kennedy Memorial Park, because John Fitzgerald Kennedy came to Galway in 1963, around in June, so a few months before he was assassinated, and he gave a beautiful speech in Galway. He was only there for only a few hours, but that's the reason why Galway decided to rename the square. So the square used to be in the medieval time, you can have like medieval battles, of people battling, outside the walls of Galway. And as well, you could sell some cows, could be a market for animals as well. But not anymore. It's where all the young people or people wants to stay. You can be on the grass, it's really nice. And it has been refurbished around like 10, 15 years ago. So it's a beautiful place. And I'm going to talk now as well about the River Corrib, which you can see from in Galway all the time. And you can walk along that River Corrib, which is only 6 kilometers long. And it's coming from the Lake Corrib in the Connemara. And it's a very, very powerful river. You can now use it as for sports like canoe kayak, for example, that you can see sometimes coming from the university. And it's a river actually we used to generate power for about something like a dozen Galway mills. So you don't really have any more mills. You can see them maybe, there's still one, that you can see, but otherwise, most of the mills have been destroyed. It's beautiful actually to walk and to take that walk and moving from one bridge, with Salmonware Bridge or a Wolfstone Bridge or O'Brien Bridge, and you can cross along, like it's a bit like a little Venice, I would say. And it's a gorgeous walk that you can do to actually see Galway from a different perspective. So that would be my little tour of Galway. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne-Celine. Merci beaucoup.
You're welcome.
And now we're gonna move on to Sita, who is gonna give us some fun and interesting facts about Galway.
Thank you, Elena. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Elena. I'm originally from Nepal, so I'm not a native of Galway, but I have been living here for the past 2 years, so I'll try my best to give you the glimpse about the Galway. So within these 2 years, I just want to give like a small overview of Galway from my eyes, like a couple of the words that would explain Galway from my view is like it's very personal town, it's cultural, it's full of colors and full of life. And although the town is not very big, but it offers everything a big city can offer with a touch of culture. So that's my view from my from non-Galwegian. So today's talk presentation will be an interesting and fun facts about Galway. Here, on the right hand side, you can see the map of Ireland here in the green, and the darker green on the center, kind of on the western side, that is Galway County. And on the map on the left hand side, you can see there the county of Galway, and then on the center you can see the Galway city itself. So population of Galway city is 79,000, around that, as of 2016 census, and according to that it's the fourth most populous city in Ireland after Dublin, Cork and Limerick. So this is one of the fun fact about Galway. So now moving on to talking about the city of the tribes. Actually Galway is considered the city of the tribes because the 14 merchant families, the tribes of Galway, led the city in Hiberno-Norman period, which was from 13th to 19th century. And actually, the picture that I'm showing here, there are 14 flags around the Irish Square or John F. Kennedy Memorial Park, which lies at the heart of the Galway city. So moving on to the next fun facts. So this one, so we have this name of we have the longest name of the place name, and I will try to pronounce it correctly. Gahalia, thanks to Mary Cunningham, she taught me last week. So this is the place, that's the longest name, the name of the place, and it literally means piggery between two briny places, and it is actually located in Galway. Here you can see on the map on the top right corner there, the red location that spots the location of Gahalia. So moving on to the next slide. Now another fun fact is the Clara ring, which earlier in the presentation discussed about the Clara ring, and it is the symbol of love, friendship and loyalty, and the design and costume originated in Galway, and you heard the story about it. Moving on to the next slide. So another interesting fun fact is it is 8th sexiest city in the world as per 2007 MSN travel poll. And I was not surprised, but I was interested what are the criteria for considering into the sexiest city. And I found out it is one of the criteria was it was compact enough to be intimate and with easy access to some of the most breathtaking sceneries and coastlines in Europe. And I totally agree with this one. Moving on to the next one. Irish language and Gaeltacht. So Galway County has the highest percentage of Irish speakers. So there are places called Gaeltacht. Those are the region where Irish language is spoken. And here on the right hand side, we have the map of Ireland and then different shades of purple colors, and you can see the lighter color means the percentage is low, and if you see for the Galway County it is almost 49%. So Galway County itself is the area where which has the highest percentage of the people speaking Irish or Gaelic language. So moving on to the next slide, also about the River Corrib, it was already presented, but Lough Corrib, it flows from Lough Corrib or Lake Corrib to the Galway Bay in the Atlantic, and it is only 6 kilometers long. But the fun fact is this is the second fastest by volume, like a volume of the water per second after Shannon River, so which is also in Ireland. So this is one of the second fastest river in Galway city. So if you were, so yeah, that's fine. So another fun fact is Connemara marble, or the Irish gemstone. This is also the home of Connemara marble, and it is found exclusively along the Ireland's rugged wild Atlantic coast, and it is the birthplace of Connemara marble, as I said, and it is internationally known or prized. And some of the places where this has been used is Galway Cathedral here in Ireland, Westminster Cathedral in London, as well as State Building in Pennsylvania in US. So moving on to the other one. So this is probably the last one, and how can we not talk about the pubs? So there are 475 pubs in the county, and I was curious what happens if one day out of nowhere, if we're told to leave the home and go to the pubs. Then if I do the math with this many pubs, in each pub we can 554 people can live there, so it's not bad. So this is so we have lots of pubs, 475 pubs in the county. So that's all my list of all the fun facts. And in the next slide, these are some of the references that I got obtained from blogs and the news. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Sita. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully you got a flavor of some of the interesting and fun facts in Galway. Until the time you will come and visit, which will be hopefully soon. Now I would like to invite Hugh, who is going to talk about culture in Galway.
Hi, my name is Hugh, and I'm a student artist. Galway, it's a small city with a big heart and sits at the edge of Europe with its arms outstretched, welcoming travellers from across the world. Recognised as a city with a strong cultural identity, it is home to a colourful palette of artists, writers and musicians, and thus a natural heir to the title of European Capital of Culture 2020. Untitled Theatre. Untitled was founded in 1928 and is Ireland's premier Irish language theatre. The name Taivark is derived from dream and glance. The Druid Theatre Company. Founded in 1975, the Druid Theatre Company has for over 40 years produced and performed cutting-edge theatre. They are a touring company that has played to audiences not only in Ireland, but also across the world, from Australia to the USA and Canada. The Galway International Arts Festival. The Galway International Arts Festival has since 1978 brought together some of the best in art, theatre and music from not only Ireland but across the world. This annual festival is the most popular cultural event in Ireland. The Court International Festival of Literature has developed from its early beginnings in 1985 into one of the most recognised European literature festivals. The Galway Arts Centre plays host to a wide variety of local, national and international exhibitions. They also run a variety of workshops and classes in both performance and visual arts. Since 1989, the Galway Film Fleadh has presented some of the finest work by both Irish and international filmmakers. It is now recognised as an important showcase for independent filmmakers. The Centre for Creative Arts and Media at GMIT has overseen the development of some of the most exciting participants in the field of art, design, textiles, film, and documentary making. An artist-led visual arts organisation run by a board of professional artists, the 126 Gallery focus on contemporary art practices and produces exhibitions by experimental artists. They also foster new students through residencies and research projects. Galway Early Music Festival has since 1996 presented a festival of the best in medieval, Renaissance and Baroque music. The festival consists of concerts, workshops, talks, and various family events. The Galway Fringe Festival showcases the best in theatre, music, comedy, and visual art from both national and international artists. It has proved a launching pad for emerging artists, as well as showing the work of more established creators. Galway artists. Galway has always been a welcoming haven for artists from home and abroad. Painters, printers, sculptors, photographers all come together in a supportive and encouraging community. Whether it be traditional boat makers or basket weavers whose skills have been passed down through generations, or modern ceramic artists and jewelers, there is a wide range of crafts being practiced throughout Galway City and County. Galway street artists. Throughout the year, no matter what the weather, a stroll through the streets of Galway will introduce you to the widest range of musicians and performers. Traditional, jazz, rock, and classical music echo along your journey. Around the next corner, you will find jugglers, puppeteers, and Irish dancers performing to an appreciative audience. Galway 2020 European Capital of Culture. Despite the difficulties presented by COVID-19, Galway has continued to innovate and create works that are inventive, imaginative, and exhilarating. This would have been impossible without the enthusiasm and hard work of our wave makers, who have come not only from every corner of Ireland, but from countries across 5 continents. They have continued to demonstrate the true spirit of Galway 2020, European Capital of Culture. Thank you.
It's showing some pictures from Galway European Capital of Culture and the wave makers. Thank you, Hugh.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks a million. That gives us a flavor of the amazing culture in Galway. And now I would like to invite Artur, I think, yeah, who is gonna give you his impression of Galway as a non-Galwegian.
Thank you, Elena. I'm Artur, originally from Poland, from Wrocław. No one hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I lived in Ireland from 2008. I was back to Poland for some months in 2017 and 2018. But I was go back to Ireland in 2019, in January. This is the presentation about my experience of the city since January, exactly. I like sightseeing, so I started exploring Galway. It is best to explore on foot, so I went through a lot. Today I have lived in this place nearly 2 years. So I would like to show you some spots important for me. You can all feel invited. This is a photo from South Park, situated in the Clad area. This is a perfect place for the walks. And when you start there and you go in there, you can go to this old hill, the prom, one of the best places as well. Elena, you said it's rainy today, but not always like that in Galway. And are you surprised about the photos? It can be a lot of sun, but sometimes, for be honest. This is on the other side of the South Park, and this is if you put to the Galway to the Google it, and that will be probably the most that will be a lot of photos about this place. Even if you show if you watch the Ed Sheeran video, Galway Girl, they stay in one of these buildings. You can move on. This is a different view for the Galway Cathedral. For me, the most important thing about this place is built on the place on the old prison city. We've absolutely changed the meaning of this place. This is Roman Catholic Church, and is probably the largest building in the Galway city. And this was completed in 1965. Its making is the last giant stone cathedral to be built in Europe. I didn't know about that before. Could you move on to the next one? Yeah, sometimes you can meet in Galway a really serious person, like that lady. This is the photo from the last year Magnus Parade. Magnus is the performance company based in Galway from 1986. And Magnus Parade, it's it's the center point of the Halloween parade in Galway. And you can see a lot of persons like this lady for the on these parades. Could you move on? Could we move on? For my first visit in Galway, I asked some person when I can eat the really good pizza in Galway, and this guy with a little bit of madness in the eyes said, "Dobros, that's the best place." And if you want to try some kind of taste of Italy, you have to go to the Dobros. That's the best one. You will be addicted to that. Trust me. Berlin Woods, probably my favorite spot. Berlin Woods, it's the woodland based on the eastern edge of Galway with a lot of different kind of trees. And if you want to some kind of chill, you go through the Dublin Road and make some steps just to the left side if you're going from the city, and you will be like in the center of the woods. It's silence, it's a lot of trees, and you can really make some kind of meditation. That's really the best place for the chill in Galway for me. Could you, next slide please? Even you can also pick up the white garlic. It's a lot of plants, a lot of different plants, a lot of different birds. And if we go to the next slide, you can stop and just think, or not, just stop. O'Connell Bar, my favorite pub. I found this really quick. It's on the A Square. I don't remember this on this moment how long it's open, but it's traditional Irish pub with the huge beer garden and absolutely perfect place for small talks, big talks, met some people, and a perfect pint of Guinness if you like. But if you go to the O'Connell's, you may grow wings. This is the gate to the beer garden, straight from the street, and the wings sometimes change their colors. I don't know how, but it's happened. The bike is good to go through the Galway, but sometimes it's even better when you go outside. Or more, it's some kind of suburbia for Galway, really small town. I lived in this place for a few months, and I found some kind of different grammar. This is on the next slide. Yes. This is on the main street. This is graffiti from the main street of Oramore. It's perfect colors and some kind of joke about the English grammar. Next, please. That means see you in Galway in Irish. I'm not pretty sure how to.
We may ask Mary maybe to help us pronounce it so that everybody can hear. Are you okay to do that, Mary?
Okay, it's Feki Mehu Ingalev.
Thank you.
Maybe at the end, everybody can try and repeat it.
Yes.
So we all learn a little bit of Irish today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Artur, for your lovely personal experience of Galway. And Next, I'd like to invite another non-Galwegian. As you can see, Galway is very diverse, and I'd like to invite Innocent to talk about his experience of Galway as a non-Galwegian.
Thank you very much. So delighted to be in the midst of everyone. I am Innocent Ogah. I love Galway, so I came into Galway in 2015, and when I was totally confused where to start from, because the kind of life we live down where I Nigeria. We hardly meet up with people, mix up. But when I came into Galway 5 years ago, it was like, where do I start from? So I come across a friend who was Nolly. He was one that introduced me to 2020. And from there in Galway 2020, it was then he realized that people in Galway are so incredible, cute, hospitable, and are the friendliest people I've ever met. They are so much free, and they are all a smiling face to talk to. You can never be boring in Galway. As far as Galway is concerned, you can never be boring, never be full with, sorrow or pain, because you will everly found, to share your problem with, to help, to assist in one way or the other. It then helped me to be socialized. That was where I started from. Make contact with new people on a regular basis, which then offer me the chance to develop interest and skill with a new sense of purpose in my life, and has improved my confidence and self-esteem. Improved me so much that I could now stand and talk to people, speak to people, even in the public. Unlike my country of origin, where I had grown, accustomed not to speak to strangers, let alone strike conversation with one. While volunteering with Galway 2020, I was one of those that was interviewed by the judges, when the bid was on, before it was on. I also met with Prince William and his wife when they visited Galway in 2020. So Galway has actually been a good and a lovely place for me. Therefore, I was introduced by friends within Galway also to other organizations as a volunteer, where I was nominated as 2 times Mayor Award in Galway, 2016 and 2018. Also, was also nominated for a garden party in the President's House in 2019. So Galway actually makes me to be just like the way Eliana will always say. He said to me, one day you become a star. It has actually makes me to be a star, because putting all this together, I never in my life wish or look I will ever, be opportune to have this chance, to participate in this kind of activities. So thanks to Galway, who has made me what I am today. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Innocent. Thanks, Mino, for your lovely presentation. It's just nice to hear all the different perspectives. And now, to finish up, last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Hannah, who is a native Galwegian, and she's gonna tell you a bit more about her Galway.
Good evening. My name's Hannah, and I am a native of Galway. I wasn't born here, but I moved with my parents when I was a toddler, so I've lived here. It will be 22 years in October. I just wanted to say I absolutely loved Innocent's presentation. I think it really resonated with me as someone who could have grown up in a different country and would have been a different person if I'd had different experiences. I really like the person that I am from growing up in Galway, and I think the city and the culture plays a lot into that. So to start off with, welcome to the Wild Atlantic Way. And to Galway. We live on the coast and we get some mad storms. This is a photo of Salt Hill on a rare, nice winter day. This was actually in December last year and it was lovely. It was really lovely, but we had 2 months of storms after this. So to start off with, the presentation is split in two, so I'm going to cover some of my favorite places in the city and some of my favorite places in the county because they're both quite different and quite separate from each other. So from the city, some of my favorite places are, if you could move on, Elena. So some of my favorite places are actually some of the interesting views you can get in Galway. They're a real hidden gem of a lot of cities and a lot of towns. It's definitely something that I think everyone should look out for because they are beautiful and they offer different perspectives of your home, but also of places where you're traveling to. They're good photo opportunities, and they are really interesting. So this one is of the back of the Spanish Arch looking back towards the city, and it's taken from the viewing window at the Galway City Museum. And then the next slide has some more photos of different places. So the third, the fourth and the sixth photos are all taken from the museum. So 2 are from the viewing platform looking out towards the Galway Bay and the Claddagh, and you can see the hills of Clare in the distance because it was a really clear day. Galway Bay isn't big, so you can actually cross to Clare on the other side, County Clare. And then the others are taken from the windows of cafes in Galway City along the main shopping street, Shop Street, and also of Quay Street, which is down towards the river and the Spanish Arch. So some of my favorite places in the city. So Galway has some really good cafes. They're very, very popular, especially among students. I'm a student, so I don't have a lot of money to spend. So some of my favorites are the Little Lane Coffee Company and Temple Cafe, especially Temple because they're a social business. So they give their profits to local charities. I love the cinema and I love the film fla. So I love going to Palace, which is the art house cinema. And then Katie's Claddagh Cottage, which is the only cottage that's built in the traditional style that's in the Claddagh. It's currently a museum and it was purpose built to be a museum and an art centre. If you're ever in Galway or even as a local, I highly recommend checking it out because it's really amazing what they've managed to recreate. You really get a sense of how the village and the area would have been. I also love the Galway City Museum. They've recently reopened with due to COVID regulations, they shut down, but they've reopened with a new exhibition in conjunction with Galway 2020, and it is really amazing because it shows the craftsmanship of the West Coast and in particular the islands, the Aran Islands off the coast of Galway. The Claddagh Museum is a tiny little gallery in the back of a Claddagh ring shop, and it has examples of old rings, photographs, traditional crafts, and it's really a quirky, interesting thing to check out. We're on the coast, so Salt Hill, Ballylochan and Silverstrand beaches are all beaches in the city that I spent a lot of time at. My parents loved to go to the beach and to take us to the beach, so we've always gone, and now I have a dog who loves the beach, so we spend a lot of time at Ballylochan, which is my local beach. Merlin Woods and Castle is really accessible to people who live in the city. I live just up the road from Merlin Woods, and as Artur said, it's a lovely oasis in the city. It's managed to be preserved through the work of volunteers and through activists, because it was going to be chopped down and turned into a bus corridor for buses to come off the motorway. So it is amazing that it is still there and that people can still use it. And also there's the ruins of a castle. So I'm studying heritage or history, and it's really cool to see that we have ruins that are so close to the city, that are easily accessible and that are safe to go to, that you can check out. And then also the canal and river corridor walks. I'm not a huge walker in the city, but I do love doing the canal walks because they bring you around to different perspectives of the city, and also you can usually find a quiet spot to sit and just enjoy the water, and you can always hear the water, which is lovely as well. And there's a lot of wildlife up and down the river too. If you go through the university, you can also just walk straight up to the river and you can keep going, and you wouldn't expect that you're still in the city because it feels like the wilderness. So these are some of the photos of the city. The first two are of the Arts Festival and the Film Fla. The Arts Festival likes to utilize different spaces for gallery space. So this was actually a giant moon that was suspended in the university, and my friend and I went because it looked really cool. And then the third one is of Salt Hill. So because we're on the Wild Atlantic Way and it's been turned into a tourism route, it's a driving route, they have way stops or discovery points where you can stop and take your photo and explore the area. They have information, and they also have these signs, which are, some people don't like them, but I really like them. They are rusted and they are made from metal, so they'll always look the same and they're quite distinctive. And it's a good photo to get at each point. The fourth photo is of one of the canals. So this is leading towards the bridge to the cathedral, and just in the distance of the photo you can see the big blue top, which is where they have concerts during the Arts Festival in the summer. The fifth photo is of the cottage in the Claddagh, and you can really see how it would have looked. It is really amazing. And then the sixth photo is again at Salt Hill, but that was our Christmas swim last December. It's a big Galway tradition to go swimming on Christmas Day in Salt Hill. It's freezing, but it's really, really good fun. And if you're ever in Galway, you really need to go in the water, regardless of the outdoor temperature. So on to the next slide, the county. As you can see, it's a huge difference. This was taken in Clonbur in March, just before the lockdown. I was on a college trip with my class. And this is Loch Corrib. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's so many little islands that you can explore, and it's absolutely wonderful. So moving to the next slide. Some of my favorite places in the county are Cong and Clonbur. I've spent a lot of time there for various things, doing walking trips and hiking. The most recent was in March with my class. We were there for a week and we did a lot of hiking. There's lots of history there with Ashford Castle, with Clifton, or not Clifton, with Cong. They have the Quiet Man, which was filmed there. There's lots of places to explore, but there's also really good waymarked walks and hikes that I would highly recommend if you're into hiking. Bridget's Garden is a Celtic, it's a garden based out in Moycullen, and it's based on the Celtic calendar. So they have themed gardens based around the traditional calendar, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's a lovely day out. It's great for everyone. I've been to weddings there, and I've also been to funerals there. It's really lovely, and it's just a nice, quiet place to go to. Derry Gimla Bog and Heritage Walk is a huge part of global history and Irish history, because it was where the first transatlantic flight crash landed in 1919. And it was also where the first Marconi station was based. So it was the first permanent radio station, and they first sent transatlantic radio signals from that bog in Clifton in 1907. And they have turned it into a heritage walk where you can walk around the bog and see the history that's there, the built history, and also they have memorials located there for the crash site. No one died, it was safe. But they have a memorial there, and they have photos. It is really good, and I would highly, highly recommend. Killary Fjord and the Misunderstood Heron Food Truck. Killary Fjord is located between Galway and Mayo, so it's a natural border. They have lots of mussel growing and fish farming in the fjord, but you can go on boat tours. And the Misunderstood Heron Food Truck looks over the bay of the fjord, and they serve great food. So if you're ever up on a day trip, I highly recommend going there. And then Inishmaan is the middle island of the Aran Islands, and it's the quietest. So I really like to go there because unlike Inishmore, which gets a lot of tourists, and Inisheer, which has a Gaeltacht camp for students, Inishmaan is lovely and quiet. There's ruins that you can walk up to. They have a great beach, and it's a bit of a hike to the village, but it is worth it. And so then these are some of the photos. So the first one is walking with my class in Clonbur. It was very wet, but it was a lovely trip. Then there's the map of the different drives you can take around Connemara. So the one that we usually do is you go along the yellow route, and then you swing past, you kind of swing onto the blue route up by where there's a red kind of dot, and then you come and drive back along the coast, and it's really wiggly, but there's some amazing views, and a lot of them are on the Wilds Atlantic Way stops list, so you can discover these tiny little places that have an amazing history. And if something you're interested in, I would definitely recommend. The third one is food from the food truck overlooking Killary Fjord. They serve great food, and they are known for their pasties or empanadas because one half of the partnership that runs it is from South America. So they serve interesting food as well. It's not just Irish food. The fourth photo is the view from the shop on Inishmaan down to the coast. It was a really clear day. It was a really hot day. They have a microclimate there, so it's separate to what the city or the county would have. So on the day that we went, we thought, oh, you know, it'll be sunny, but it won't be really hot. And then it turned out to be around 21 degrees, and I wasn't prepared, and I got really badly sunburned. But I would definitely recommend going. This is the fifth one is the way sign for Derry Gimla Bog. Because it's a signature discovery point on the Wilds Atlantic Way. Signature discovery point means that it's worth, like, it should be, if you're going to go to any stop, go to that one. There's 15 of them, like the Cliffs of Moher and the Skelligs are included. So Derry Gimla is like up there. You should really go. And then the sixth is of my dog Twix on the beach in Clifton. It's lovely and quiet. We go to Clifton quite often in the summer. We walk her along the beach, and she absolutely loves it. It's just lovely. There's lots of clean beaches along the coast. So I would definitely recommend, if you do stop and find a beach, it's probably safe to swim in. So you should try and swim when you're here. And so thank you for listening. I know I rambled a little bit, but I really love Galway. I love all that it has to offer, and I hope that when you do manage to come here that you have a really good time.
Thank you, Hannah, and for your passionate presentation. Who wouldn't want to come to Galway after this? I wonder. And these are just some greetings for all of you from all of your, wherever you are, including whether it's Greece, Estonia, Cyprus, Japan, Rijeka, and I hope we got them all right. So I might just stop sharing my screen and see if anybody maybe would love to ask any questions to the wave makers or want to comment. Yeah, I leave the floor open.
So can I give some comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful presentation, wave makers. That it's really complex and it's like human touch for me. And I really made note, a lot of good point, and I really would like to visit Galway. And also thank you for everybody who joined today's meeting. If you don't mind, please open your video and put some questions, feel free. We still have time, some question time, and it's nice to have some interactive time together.
Hi,
Oh.
I'm Dusan from Novi Sad, from Serbia. I would like to say something, if that's okay.
Yeah.
First of all, it is a really big pleasure to be a part of this because I don't know, like this is a question for people from Ireland. I don't know if you're familiar with the fact that people in Serbia are generally really friendly towards Ireland. Like, we really like your country. I don't know, we kind of feel close to it in a way. One of the reasons may be actually the fact that we also have a mountain called Tara in Serbia. And if I'm not mistaken, Mountain Tara is one of the most important mountains in your land, in your country. And it's supposed to be connected to the Celtic roots, I would say, if I'm not mistaken. But also, like, one of my favorite bands from Serbia is actually called Orthodox Celts or Celts. So, like, they sing songs about Ireland. So they're themed, obviously, with like, Ireland is the theme, and they also sing some of your folk songs such as "Star of the County Down." So, like, that's one of my favorite songs from all the songs that they sing, and that's where I first heard of Galway, like when I was even a small kid. So, like, actually getting to know more about Galway, especially in such a way, in this way, it's really interesting for me. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's called Orthodox Celts. And also, hopefully, yeah, I really hope that I will get the chance to visit your city through, like, these exchanges of volunteers or some program like that. But it would be a really great pleasure. So thank you for this presentation.
Thank you so much. Very interesting to hear about Tara, actually. And if you want to maybe write on the chat the name of the band you were talking about, we might check it out. Maybe they can come and tour in Ireland. Who knows?
Well, I think it's weird, actually. Like, they have been around from, like, since 90s. But
okay.
Like, only 2 or 3 years ago, they actually went finally to Ireland, which is kind of weird that it only happened back then. But they're really great, and, like, I don't know if how accurate that is, but one of the main associations regarding Ireland and your culture is the violin. So we have actually a couple of bands. They are just the most famous one, and, like, when listening to the music that they make, we kind of naturally connect the sound of violin to Ireland. So I don't know, like, if that's accurate cultural presentation, but yeah. So
maybe
yeah,
some
we're like kind of and all that.
Some real some true Galwegian or some of the native Irish here in the group might want to say something.
Liam here in Galway. You hear me?
Liam.
I was interested to hear the music, as Irish music's of interest in Serbia. My son, who plays the banjo and plays traditional music, spent 2 years in Slovakia, and he met up with some musicians who were mad keen on Irish music and joined them in the band there. It seems to be quite very popular in Eastern Europe. But
yeah, sorry, yeah, continue, please.
I was just going to add that I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all the presentations. They were all excellent. And I've been living here 46 years and found them very interesting. Thank you to all of you. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we should all give the wave makers a round of applause. What do you think?
Yes.
And we look forward actually to, I mean, this is it was an idea that came up during the lockdown, and we hope that this is just the first episode. Maybe next time it could be Rijeka and then Novi Sad and so on, so we can all virtually travel and find out more interesting facts from the locals and from adopted, as we say here, adopted Galwegians, and I'm an adopted Galwegian as well. And just while we can't physically meet, at least we can virtually meet and find out more about each other's cities and capitals of culture, and some interesting facts as well. I didn't know myself about the 8th sexiest city, which, you know, quite interesting. There's always something new to learn. Anyone else would like to add any comment or?
Sorry, Elena. I just want to say to thank you for all your effort and encouragement for everybody during, you know, from all the wave makers and the amount of work you put in without, and always maintaining a bright spirit. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Hugh. Yeah, well, I love it, and it's because of people like you. That's my motivation. But thanks, I appreciate it.
Maybe, yeah, can I ask one question? That I found that Galway is a multicultural city, and also a lot of people are from not Galwegian. It's correct? What do you think? What's the reason? Of course, the history and also the location, but what do you think that Galway attracts so many people from all over the world to move to live in Galway? For example, Elena, you are originally from Italy, but now you are living in Galway, and Celine and Anne is originally from France, yes. And also Sita is from Nepal, as we heard, and Artur. So everybody is innocent. So everybody had a reason to live in Galway. And what do you think the most attractive part of Galway to people move to live in Galway?
Well, I mean, I'm sure many people would like to say something, but personally, I just find that Galway is a few people have mentioned that, but it's very, very welcoming from day one. From my experience, you feel like you're part of the community, you're part of something, you know, that you're kind of protected in a way. And what I love about it is this mix of traditions and Irishness, which I find here, with a curiosity about the world. I think there's a lot of curiosity about the world, and obviously from the history and the fact that it's a port town and the tribes, the families, but there is also something that I think you can't explain this with words. It's something magical. I think Hannah maybe agrees with me on that. But if anybody else would like to add something on this, that's just my personal view on Galway.
Maybe I can add something. So in my opinion, it's the people, because I didn't know anything about Ireland before coming here, and then later on I realized that because of the history of the Ireland, history of the Irish people, they have been everywhere, immigrated to America, all over the world. So people here have different, like they're very open-minded, and it's about the people. So I think it's that touch, the personal, very caring personality of the people here. They are not like people outside Ireland. They are not alien or like very like a outsider so much for Irish people. That's what I have felt, and I think that's very new in caring nature for me. Yeah.
Like, if I may add to what Anna just said, like when I came in newly, really it's all about the people in Ireland, majorly the people. There was a family who took up, I don't know the family before, I didn't know anybody when I came into Ireland at all. So the family just came around where I was living and said, can I take you and your family out? Can you meet with my family to have a dinner together? And that was how we started. It came up friendly, started mixing up with the family, go to the home, have dinner in their home with the family, with the children, the wife, with their big table. We now become one family together. So it's all about, I agree with you, it's all about the people. The love, the safety, the good home, the hospitality, the warm welcome, the chance to exhibit what you have in you, the opportunity that are everywhere. These are all the things that comprises, people coming around Galway and not willing to go back again. Some people come into Galway just to come and visit Galway and they remain in Galway. So that's just what I found there.
So true. I think this is so true, Innocent. You actually explained it, and that's your experience. But I think we can all relate to that. So I hope that whenever you guys from Romania, Denmark, I know we have Inga here who was here for the opening ceremony. That never happened. But I hope that we'll still have the opportunity to have other kind of exchanges and even to visit. There will always be an open door for you here from the wave makers, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I would like to also ask other people from not from Galway that maybe have you ever been to Galway? Some of you, and some of you never been. And so I'm curious about how many people would like to go maybe next year to have a Galway exchange. Yeah, Dushan, yes, let's make it because so the reason that we started, Elena already explained this project, is to have contact in advance so that we can see each other like physically. Then we already knew about Hugh, also Sita, Mary, everybody. So it's good to have a chance to make also to make a plan to go together. Yeah. Yeah, so so some message from Bobby, Sibiu, Romania. I would also like. So Bobby stayed half a year in Ireland. Yeah, Bobby, if you can open your video, if possible. I don't know if he can or not. But anyway, thank you for your comment. And Dusan, let's make a plan. Deal.
I'm all in. There was a mention actually that this year was supposed to be like an organizing change to Galway. So I told to Voislav, who is our chief for volunteers, I told him, so I don't want to go anywhere in the next however many years. Like there would be like other options for who knows how many places. I told him, I want to go to Ireland. I don't care about the others. So hopefully, yeah, I will get that chance. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for you.
And I was actually thinking about saving this for the presentation about Novi Sad, which I will probably be a part of. But actually, my favorite pub here is called Shamrock. It's like all in Ireland, like souvenirs and all that. Like the style is all Irish, so yeah.
Yeah, the Irish connection everywhere.
Irish connection is everywhere, and like
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of old Celtic names for some of the settlements in Serbia. Like even Belgrade, our capital city, like there was one of the oldest. If you're hearing a piano, I'm actually at work because I work in a cultural station in Novi Sad, which is actually a part of European City of Culture. So there's like a piano, like a girl is exercising it. So sorry for that. But yeah, actually our capital, one of the oldest settlements in the Balkans was called Singidunum. Maybe someone knows what that exactly means, but I know that it's Celtic in origin. So yeah, there's a lot of connection there.
Volunteers for the Galway City of Culture and No, it's not just finishing up now.
So true. If I also add some comment, for me, before, the image of Ireland is green and also Guinness. So for Japanese, this is the image. Sorry, but now I know more about Ireland. No, I know more colorful city. I can say.
You're looking for Turkey, will you?
Yeah. So this is a big image change for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just like to remind everyone that some of the projects, because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19, are actually going to be online. So make sure that you follow our social media or our website. And one of the projects, which is called Gilgamesh, is by Maknas, that street art company that Artur talked about earlier, and they're really amazing, and they're moving some of their project online, so then at least you all have access to it. So make sure you check our social media and the website, and that you'll be able to follow some of our events, and we look forward to see also events in your cities. And thanks again for listening to the Wave Makers today, and it's really, really special.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, also from us. So Jeff made clap hands on the screen. Yeah, thank you. So if anybody wants to add some comment, nice. I don't know how to make.
How do you do that? Sita is our tech savvy.
Next to this, there's a react emoji on the bottom.
Oh yeah, look.
Right, yeah.
Where?
Yeah, on the bottom right, just before like leave. There's an icon for leaving the meeting. Before that,
reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary did it. I love it. Great.
Pier Paolo made also heart.
Oh, can you
how
do that? That's advanced, like that's really advanced.
That's the professional.
Professional. Level 1, level 2. Yeah, but and just to remind everyone that this is recorded, so if you want to share it as well with other volunteers from your city, feel free to do that. I think Mayumi, you will send the link, will you?
I will send the record, and after preparing, we would like to upload maybe YouTube so that everybody can easy access to search. And so Galway episode 1 is worldwide presentation.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So before leaving, can I take photo of the screen? Everybody
Yeah.
smile if you are on video. If you can,
We can wave.
Yes, yes. If you can connect with video, please do it. So I will take photos. 3, 2, 1, smile. Wow, thank you. More people, innocent, yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone, and well done again to the wave makers.
Thanks, Elena. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's time to closing. So let's clap hand again to wave makers. And see you next episode, which we are planning to have Discover My City, episode 2. We'll go to your city next, maybe Novi Sad or Office. And we also have like twin project, which is share your story. That we are asking several questions to you, like interview project, that why you be a volunteer, what your motivation. So if you are interested in, please talk with your coordinator, which we have a network of European Capital of Culture. So in your case, Galway Wave Maker, please talk with Elena, then we can arrange the interview session to have online project.
Yeah, thanks for reminding Mayumi.
Thank you so much. Okay, so see you next episode.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you everyone.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you for joining today. And thank you. Heart, love. Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Also Ferdinando, thank you for the message. And Innocent, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Innocent. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.